Hey, beautiful souls. Welcome to my channel. So, I'm going to get right into it. I really want to talk about, I know I've touched down on a lot. I've touched down a lot on mental abuse, mental health, and things like that. I want to talk a little bit about physical abuse because that's something that I actually went through as well. Like after I was left my mom house and things like that, I met my husband. Well, he wasn't my husband at the time. It was me and my girlfriends hanging out, and they were a little bit more advanced than I was. I'm not gonna lie. Although I had my first son by then, but um, they were a little bit more advanced than me, I must say. We met. Uh, um, we hung out and everything. Me and my friends, and him and his friends. Uh, One of the times we met, the first time I believe we met, we were on where we all used to live, not in the same complex, but in the same vicinity. We met them, and there was like a catwalk. Like soon as you walk out your house, there's a catwalk. Like you have to come out your house, and then there's like you can actually come out your house, walk up 2 inches, and you can overlook the balcony and see like everything down there. And then to get like out the building, you would either walk to the elevator, which was in the middle of the building, like there's an elevator shaft in the middle of the building, or you can take the exits. There was an exit on both sides of the building. Okay, we met up there. Me and two other friends, about two, I believe it was two other friends, and my soon to be husband, but him, two of his friends. Now, initially, we wasn't supposed to be together. He was supposedly dating or talking to one of the other girls. One of my childhood friends, which is now my best friend, or whatever. My sister, pretty much. Um, Another sister, not my sister friend, but another sister friend. Anywho, we all hung out up there, and one of the guys that wanted to talk to me, when I tell you he smelled so bad, because he drunk St. Ives. I don't know if y'all know what that was. 40 ounces of beer. 40 ounces of beer. He smelled so bad, and he was so aggressive, like, "Oh, what's your name? What's your name?" To me and everything, because I was quiet because I'm new to this whole scene. Whatever the case may be. Okay, fine. Didn't like him. Long story short, I liked my husband at well, he was the guy that was there, but I thought because he was laid back, relaxed, reserved, so I thought that he was cool, and whatever. I had a question, but I didn't push the issue because he was supposedly talking to my friend. Long Okay, moving along. uh Months go past. I don't see them again. I stopped hanging out for a little while, then I got back with them, and um we actually all met up. Now back then, I don't I'm some of you guys might be able to relate to this. So in the projects or whatever, well, those wasn't projects really, but high story buildings and everything. There was someone had moved out of their apartment, and one of the boys had a key or whatever interest to it, whatever. It was an empty apartment. It was a couple of more guys, and then it was a couple of more girls, me and a couple of more girls, whatever the case may be. We were all supposed to have, like, been assigned to a guy or whatever, or nothing from just teenage stuff, whatever the case may be. But they were plotting on me. Some of the girls was telling me they were plotting on me because I was the new girl. So a lot of them was plotting on me, but wasn't having it, whatever the case may be. They called my girlfriend, the one that was supposed to be talking to my attendant. I want to say, they called her in the room, whatever. She started talking to somebody else, whatever. Um, him and his friend called me to the bathroom, and his friend was like, he liked you. So I was like, what's up? Being fast. But anyway, he's like, what's up? Whatever, whatever. He acting all quiet and reserved, like he's shy. Whatever the case may be. Okay, fine. We still didn't get together. We just set up something, but we never got together. Okay, fine. Couple of weeks, I guess a couple of weeks, I'm assuming a couple of weeks or a couple of months later, it was me and that same girl, the girl that was supposed to have been talking to him, but she ended up talking to somebody else. Okay, fine. We're walking, and from a distance, we see him and we didn't know it was him and some guys. They're calling us over, and I'm like, then I noticed it was him, and I told her, I said, look, that's such and such. He don't know it's us because the look at him. And then when he got closer, he was like, oh, he didn't know it was us. Anyway, so I said, yeah, I bet you didn't know it was us. And he was laughing or whatever. He followed us. We were actually going to another friend's house. He followed us, and my friend went to drop off something to the other friend. I was holding the elevator, and he was like, I want to go out with you. What would you say to that? I say, sure, we can go out, but you're not getting them panties. You're not getting panties. And he was like, oh, he literally like made the motion of he picked his face up because yeah, you thought it was that easy. It's not that, it wasn't that easy. Anyway, long story short, we all talked, da da da. I left him alone for a while, and then I ran into him again, and I will never forget. I was on the payphone at the time calling my grandmother, and I saw him, and I said, "Hey, what's up?" And da, da, da. He was on, not knowing at the time, he was on his way to see another girl, but he stopped to talk to me, and we ended up meeting up. And he told me to meet him at his new house. I still assumed he lived in an old building, but they end up buying a house. He ended up living in the house. So, okay, fine. Whatever. We was inseparable from there. Okay, fine. Beautiful. Both parents, middle class at the time. What middle class was? Yeah. His parents was middle class. They both worked for New York City Transit. Um he had a brother, brother didn't live there. Brother moved out years ago, independent, whatever. He was the baby. My husband was the baby. My husband to be was the baby. We dated and we were inseparable, like I said, every day. Now, mind you, I he was seeing other women girls at the time, but not like in front of me. But I knew he was. There was one time I went to his house, and I was kind of like a guy. Guys used to tell me I was kind of like a guy back then because I didn't care if I didn't have strong feelings for you. I didn't care what you was doing. That's just what you was doing. So one day I went to his house. And I went to the back because he used to tell me to go to the back because that's where his window was at. So I would go to the back, and I saw a couple of people up in the bedroom. His friends. I saw a girl come to the window, whatever. So it really didn't bother me. Truth be told, it really didn't bother me. Um, I just was like, I was calling him, calling him from the window. Like I said, everybody peeking and everything like that. And then he came downstairs and was like, oh, yeah, that's just me and my friends, blah, blah, blah. Like I said, we're young. I didn't care if he was up there with a girl because it wasn't like that. Like, I liked him, but it wasn't that serious. So I didn't care if he had a girl. And, needless to say, he got rid of all of them. They all left. I came in the house, whatever the case may be, and yeah, we chilled and hung out. I called my girlfriend over. This was the very first time that we hung out like in that new house like that. And he was drinking Bacardi. He was drinking it straight. And at that time, I was whispering to my girlfriend like, he's an alcoholic, because I'm like, I didn't know Bacardi, whatever. Like I said, but it just something foreign and new to me. I'm like, he's an alcoholic, like whatever. But anywho, she laughing, we laughing, and every time he left the room, we talking crap. But anyway, uh, did she leave that day? I think no, I left with her because I wasn't sure after I saw him drinking straight Bacardi. I wasn't sure. Okay, fine. Anyway, another time came to the house. Like I said, we was off and on. Then we started, I started liking him and things like that, whatever. Got pregnant, Um, actually this was my third child. His first child was my third child. My first son, Me and my mom, we live with my mom. My second son, he lived like I explained this in previous my first couple of videos. My second son lived with the grandmother. I explained the whole situation, the grandmother on the father's side and everything, father and but yeah, my third I got pregnant with my third son, everything like that. And like I said, it was it was an okay situation. Like it wasn't it. I didn't know red flags back then. Back then, you didn't think about red flags. You're young. He's a little older. He had more experience than me. Although I had a child, but he still had more experience than me. Okay, fine. Anyway, pregnant. Um, I just noticed that a girl, was coming back and forth and things. This girl. I'm just like, what? Who is this? And he's like, oh, she's a friend. What was sad was his mother even told me she was just a friend. So, and I'm just, I'm young, I'm gullible, easily, so I'm just like, oh, okay, so she's just a good friend, everything like that, but she's come back for, and we haven't spoke. He was trying to make sure we didn't speak and everything, and just one day I was sitting on the couch and like he had me some hot dogs on in the stove and everything like that, but for some reason his curtains was open, and I guess he saw her coming. I guess he saw her coming up, and I saw him get up to the door. I was getting up to go in the kitchen to get the hot dogs. Mind you, about 6 months pregnant. I was getting up off the couch to go to the kitchen, but I guess I was because I was getting up at the same time. He thought I was getting up to go to the door with him, with the girl, and I got up and he pushed me down. Now the push, I was just like, what? He's like, what are you doing? Like, what is going on? Which I didn't think at the time that was a red flag. I was just like, what's going on? Like, whatever, boy, which one? And I went in the kitchen and I noticed he went to the door. So after I took the hot dogs out, I went. Now these are big old house windows, big house windows. So I go to peek because the blinds are up. Go to peek. I see him standing with a girl, and she's standing looking like she's demanding. I'm like, this is the same girl that was supposed to be friends. I open the door. He's standing there not saying nothing. She's standing there not saying nothing. I'm standing there like, because I'm waiting for her to be like, who is this? Da 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 da. She says nothing. Okay, I close the door. Because I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit nervous or whatever. I don't know. I didn't know what to make of the situation. But um, I just my we women have intuition. Although I was still young, I was literally like what I had to be like 17, I believe, maybe 17, 16, 17, and I left. I got my jacket and I left. I walked past both of them and I went to my building and everything, and I went upstairs and I'm crying and everything. And let me say this, even before this, now this should have been my red flag, like, because I skipped this part. We were dating before I even before I got pregnant by him. We were dating and things like that. He was at my mom's place. We were in my room and we were drinking beer. We were, I don't know. I didn't know nothing, whatever. Drinking beer and everything like that. And we got into, I don't know how we got into it, but I think I was teasing him or something happened and I was in his face. And he bit my lip. He was angry. He bit my lip. And to the point where it was bleeding and I had a lump. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like, what the heck? And we're arguing and everything like that. And he pushed me into my mother's closet. He pushed me into the closet. And the closet went in and everything. And I said, oh, now mind you, I'm intoxicated, whatever. And I made a bad decision. I ran downstairs and I grabbed a knife. I ran back upstairs. I didn't hesitate. I stabbed him. Boom. In his arm. In his arm. Somewhere around here. Stabbed him. My mother was in the room down the hall. And I backed up. I was backing up so much that I backed up to my mother's room, and he was yelling, "You stupid bitch!" Da 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 da. And my mother was like, "What the? What's going on? What's going on? What the fuck going on?" And everything like that. And he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill you! I'm gonna kill you!" And anything like that, or whatever, whatever. And my mother like, "Wait a minute, what's going on?" And she just see him bleeding and everything. And he left the house. And my mother's like, "What did you do? What you do?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Like, he bit my lip and he pushed me in the closet. And I'm sorry, whatever." I ran to a neighbor's house. She lived down the hall. Um, I ran and I was in there, but he saw me go there. So I was so scared. I called the cops myself. I called the cops myself and was like, "Yeah, I stabbed my boyfriend," and things like that. So they came, but I didn't tell them where I was at. I hung up. But he saw where I was at, so he sent them where I was at. And when I came out, I put my hands behind my back. I was a bad little motherfucker. I ain't gonna lie. I didn't care much. Although I had 2 kids already at that time, I didn't care much. I don't know. Maybe the upbringing and everything like that, but I didn't like. Um. So I put my hands behind my back, whatever. But they took him too because they saw my lip. They took him too because I said he beat me up. And look at this. They took him too. So now we go to the precinct. So we had a precinct right under the building. And there's 2 cages. I call them cages, cells, holding cells, cages. He's in one. I'm in the second one. And um, they're just, doing the paperwork, and everything like that. So after a couple of hours, one of the officers come to me, and they're like, "Yeah, so state your name, da da da." And I say my name, my age, and my date of birth. And he was like, 16. Oh my gosh, I didn't know she was 16. Like, da da da. Like, boy, please. Like, boy, please. You didn't ask, you didn't care. That's in my mind. But, I hear him talking like, and it was like, "Shut up," told him, "Shut up." But the thing was, like I said, like, so, because I skipped that part, so I had to let y'all know. Yeah. I did I go to prison that day? I did. I believe I went to, if I don't, I'll backtrack. If I don't, I'm trying to remember because, like I said, it's been so much trauma to my head and things like that. So I'm trying to really remember you know, in order. But yeah, uh, I went to juvenile Rikers Island, and um, I had brand new sneakers, and some girl was like, "Yeah, those are some nice sneakers." I was like, "Ain't they? Ain't they?" Like, "Oh, we gonna fight." It was only seven of us in there, and one of the girls I met, in there, stuff like that, whatever, whatever. The COs was nasty. Some of them was nasty. Um, had a gay lady literally coming to my cell all the time, asking me, "Am I okay?" It seemed like she came every time I had to use the bathroom, and there was no sheet, like there was nothing to put up, like the planes flying by every 5 minutes. It was horrible. And I never wanted to be there again. I think I was there for like 7 days, if I'm not mistaken, maybe less. But whatever the case may be, when I got home, it's crazy. I must have called him because, no, I got home and everything washed up, blah, blah, blah. I called him and he met me at the back elevators. There was 2 sets of elevators on my mother floor. Like the hallways was long. It's just it was a big old building. It was connected, 2 buildings connected, so you can go through, you know. Anywho, but I met him at the back elevator and we hugged. Mind you, I was scared because I'm like, I stabbed this man. He could have took me out. But I don't know. But beautiful souls, I will continue this video. I don't want to make it too long. I will continue story time on part 2 of abuse.